I've explored some of the wildest places on Earth. But my favourite is still Britain. In this series, I'm going to travel from dawn till dusk, carving 6 individual trails through spectacular, diverse landscapes in order to explore each unique habitat and the incredible wildlife that exists there. I'll journey along rivers, navigate my way through forests and across mountains in search of some of our greatest national treasures. Well, this is the life. Old Father Thames. Most people think of the Thames as that great river that sweeps through the city of London, but here I'm much further upstream in Oxfordshire. And at this part of the river, it's a quiet, tranquil, peaceful place with lots of wildlife to be explored. The mighty Thames stretches 215 miles from source to sea. This river has shaped British history, even influencing the Romans' decision on where to build the City of London. Centuries of pollution have been reversed, and it's now an incredible wildlife corridor with over 400 unique habitats. I'll be using the river to explore the Oxfordshire countryside until I reach my final destination, the ancient Whiten Woods, a forest so rich in rare species that it is one of the most studied areas of woodland in the world. And I've been granted special permission to camp there so that I can discover its hidden treasures by day and by night. You can feel nature's energy here. It's like plugging into a great big battery. It's fantastic. And for my first stop, I don't have to travel far. It's right here on the Thames itself. Now that is what I'm looking for. Just on the far bank of the river, there's a hole. That is almost certainly the nest of a kingfisher. These fast-flying birds are shy and seldom seen. Catching a glimpse is incredibly rare, so finding the nest is like hitting the jackpot. And it's not long before I'm rewarded with a flash of colour. Slow-flowing rivers, canals and lakes are the kingfisher's natural habitat. They feed almost exclusively on fish, catching up to 20 a day. Such a beautiful bird, the kingfisher. You see it going along the river, this turquoise and bright orange flash. But actually, once they get in the undergrowth, it's one of the most discreet birds on the riverbank. But these birds are surprising me because they've picked a site that's really close to a car park. There's human disturbance here nearly all the time. That's quite astonishing. Just as I'm preparing to leave, I spot a lovely sight. A water vole. These mammals are declining faster than any other and face extinction. So to see one here on the Thames is a truly special moment. As I continue my journey down the Thames, I'm surrounded by nature's treasure chest lining the river. These horse chestnuts overarching the river here are magnificent. You can see there the baby conkers forming on the end there. It's quite an interesting tree. It's not a native of Britain, but it's got some interesting uses. And the leaves of this tree, if you make them wet and tear them up and squeeze out the juice from them, give you soap, which you can use to wash your hands. It's very, very effective. As the river guides me through the Oxfordshire countryside, I head to my next destination, a very special habitat located in the floodplain of the Thames, Chimney Meadows. This floodplain is a natural defence, allowing the swollen river to overflow and consequently spend much of the winter months underwater. Yet now in summer, it's a rich habitat for a wide variety of plants insects and birds.
I really like hides. This isn't the best time of day really to be looking out over a wetland like this. It's all a bit quiet and still. It's like being in Africa on safari looking over a waterhole at the hottest part of the day, not much happening, but always worth a look. You never know what you're going to see. And right now, on the far side, there is a heron, and it's standing right on top of a post and enjoying the sunshine, drying out, enjoying the tranquility and the peace and the calm. It feels safe. I like herons. They're a really wild bird.
Fully grown, these birds stand at around 3 feet tall, with a wingspan double their height. British herons don't migrate, so here, close to the River Thames, could be its home for many years.
It's almost like a Disney character expecting to burst into song any moment. It's like they're possessed of a secret. They always seem to be on a mission. I'm sure they know things that we could never guess.
As I walked through the meadows, only a stone's throw from the riverbank, I'm taken by surprise to see a roe deer out in the open. At this time of year, the deer are giving birth, so they are at their most vulnerable and cautious.
There's a roe buck on the far side of the field, but now, just coming out of cover here on the left, that's a roe doe. And you can see that she's no longer pregnant, so she's given birth, probably just the last few days.
As the buck keeps watch for any danger, the doe goes about regaining her strength, feeding on the rich flora these meadows offer. The kids will be nearby, hidden away in the undergrowth.
Unfortunately, there's people walking past down there, and that's enough disturbance. She's very, very skittish. She knows that the best defence for her young during the day is to sit head to tail, and she knows that when she's around, alertness and just being aware of people and dangers, foxes, that's the best defence for her kids. That's a pity, but that's looking at wildlife. That's what happens. It's like a scene out of a Constable painting. Sometimes you can feel as though time has stood still.
And from the water I spot a wonderful sight, my favourite bird of prey, the hobby on a summer visit, soaring above.
Incredible bird. Predator with those swallow-shaped wings that give it the most amazing agility in flight. It'll take dragonflies on the wing and even eat them, bite them in midair. It's awesome. A little aerial display over the river. That's made my day. Fantastic.
My river journey is taking me to a one-of-a-kind destination, high up on the chalk hills. It's called Hart's Lock Reserve.
Now that hill ahead of me, that's going to be the end of my journey by canoe, which is always a shame. I want to go up there because at this time of year there's an opportunity to see a very rare orchid. And orchids are fascinating.
Back in 2006, a very special discovery was made here. A hybrid of two endangered orchids, the lady orchid and the monkey orchid. It remains the only place in Britain where it has been recorded.
Chris,
good to see you.
It's nice to see you. Nice to be on the chalk. It's lovely.
Yes.
Hart's Lock Reserve's warden Chris Raper is here to tell me about the origins of this unique flower.
What we've got straight ahead of us is the one lady orchid in the colony.
That's this one here.
That one there.
The lady orchid is smaller and darker in colour, with just one flowering this year. She is the mother of all 400 of these lighter purple orchids that pepper these chalk hills. The father of the offsprings, the monkey orchid, is more similar in colour, but has a more defined tail.
It's probably the only time in history the two plants have actually grown that close together, where a little bee would obviously visit one plant, take the pollen off that, and then visit the lady orchid in this case, transfer the pollen onto the stigma, then go about its business. But in doing that has then created the hybrid between the two species.
And they've got that wonderful fairy cowl over their head. I mean, they're
Yes,
fantastic.
like variously described as a bonnet. You can see the concept of a lady in a crinoline skirt with a bonnet over her head.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic display, aren't they? Beautiful.
Leaving the orchids behind, I press on to my final destination, just 1 mile from the banks of the Thames, where I will be setting up camp for the night, in the magical. I've travelled along the River Thames to reach the last stop on my journey, and it's one that really excites me, Whiten Woods, one of the most intensively researched areas of woodland in the world. It's been called a laboratory with leaves. This unique habitat contains more threatened species than anywhere in the UK. It is home to over 500 different plants and 800 kinds of butterflies and moths.
Well, they forecast rain, heavy showers, and I've just heard an ominous rumble of thunder. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is put up my tarp. I've got very special permission to camp here in the woods.
The woods have been owned by the University of Oxford since 1943 and have played a key role in training generations of British ecologists. So important is the work here that you need a permit just to visit. So I am very lucky indeed.
Just got that tarp up in time. It's always a good feeling if you get it up just in time. It rained quite heavily in the night, so the woods are very wet at the moment, so I'm just going to make some shavings to get the fire going. I went off and collected some fungi like this on an ash tree. These are called King Alfred's cakes because they look burned, look like a lump of charcoal growing on dead ash trees. And they are as good as charcoal for fire lighting. They have to be dry, you need a dry one. Take a spark and drop it in there. That'll start to glow. We put a couple of those together. One lights the other. They're glowing away nicely, and I'll put these shavings on top. Looking forward to our brew.
I want to keep my fire going so later I can cook my supper, but first I'm going to need more fuel from the woods. Luckily, woodsman Matt Williams is going to help me out. He makes charcoal from the waste wood in the forest, and today he's going to teach me how it's done, though on a rather smaller scale than he is used to.
The idea is we're going to put a dry charge in the middle, inside a barrel, upside down. We'll light a fire around it, and then as the temperature builds, then the charcoal will make inside that barrel.
Matt produces artisan charcoal for the catering industry. He uses trees such as sycamore, hazel and sweet chestnut. Each has a different smell when burning, and the charcoals create individual flavours.
That's what we're going to make the charcoal out of.
And what have you got in there?
Sycamore.
Sycamore, very nice, yeah.
Well seasoned as well, so that we're not going to have too much trouble getting it going.
Yep.
And this little cage just means we can lift it back out again afterwards. That's the way.
Finally, the flue is sealed to restrict oxygen flow to the fire.
Right, here we go.
The whole process should take around 4 hours. While the wood burns, I want to find out more about the local deer. 3 of Britain's 6 deer species, fallow, muntjac and roe, live in Whiten Woods. Nick Ewart has been the deer manager here for 13 years. I'm tagging along as he does his rounds, hoping to catch a glimpse of these elegant creatures. Nick knows every inch of these woods, and it's not long before we spot a heavily pregnant roe deer.
Really surprised that she's allowed us to walk around behind her like that. It makes me think that she's very close to giving birth. I don't think she wants to run, does she?
No, she doesn't. She wants to keep as much energy as possible.
Yeah. And that coat, isn't it brilliant camouflage just when she needs it most?
Yeah, especially amongst these sycamores.
You can see she's put all her energy into the young. She's quite skinny. She'll be glad when she's given birth, I think. She'll have a chance then to go off and feed up.
There are currently around 50 deer here. Numbers need to be controlled to keep the herd healthy and maintain the fragile ecosystem of the forest.
How do you feel when you watch the deer like this? You know, everybody thinks the deer man should just shoot deer.
No, it's not all about shooting. I mean, you'll see in a few weeks' time, you'll see her in the same place with her fawns and you think, OK, let's see what these grow up to be. And that's good.
There she goes.
As the roe deer bolts deep into the forest, I leave Nick to finish his rounds and meet up with local moth expert Ross Crates, who last night set out some traps. I'm keen to learn more about the amazing range of moths that live here.
Under 60 butterflies in the country. How many moths?
The diversity of moths is absolutely crazy. There's probably over 600 species that you can regularly occur in the British Isles.
Amazing.
And I think over 2,000 have been recorded.
Look at that, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's peppered moths. They're fantastic, and they're kind of a model species for our understanding of evolution during the industrial periods.
So when there was soot in the environment, because we were burning lots of coal, these moths, they adapted to those conditions.
Exactly, yeah. So the mutation caused a certain proportion of the population to become dark. Because they blended into the sooty bark on the trees or the walls or whatever, they were much less obvious to predators. Their proportion of the population increased dramatically during the industrial periods.
One of those wonderful examples where we can actually see Darwin's theory in operation.
Exactly.
Most species of moth live only for a week or two, with the male living a few days longer than the female. They mainly feed on flower nectar, which is in abundance here in the summer months.
Look at that one. I mean, that really looks like a flake of bark.
It does, exactly, yeah. It's called coxcomb prominent. It's one of my, I must say it's one of my favourite moths. They're really, really neat.
Beautiful. It's superb camouflage.
One of the other good things about moths is they're kind of the common names were developed by all these eccentric 19th century naturalists. So some of the names that they've given them are fantastic. Cetaceous Hebrew character or peach blossom. They're really imaginative, but it really helps to remember them.
It's been 4 hours since we started the charcoal, so I head back to camp to meet up with woodsman Matt.
All right.
So should we grab it out?
Yeah, let's okay, just pull it up now.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. How heavy does it feel?
No, it feels nice and light now.
Excellent.
By comparison. And what do? Turn it over?
Yep.
Oh, look at that. That looks good, doesn't it?
There's the magic substance.
Oh, I'm pleased with that.
It's all right, very nice.
Should do well, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
As Matt heads home, I add some of his charcoal to my campfire, preparing for dinner.
Evening, Nick. How are you?
Right, how are you?
Yeah, good to see you.
And you?
I've invited deer manager Nick, who has brought something special to cook. Homemade Whiten wood venison sausages.
Oh, wonderful. But these didn't come out of the supermarket, did they?
No.
Look at that. God, they look great. There we go. That should do the trick, shouldn't it?
Got some cracking footage here.
Oh, I'd love to see, yeah.
Nick has trail cameras spread across the forest to capture the after-hours comings and goings of the deer he looks after.
Ah, look at that. Is he going to thrash? Is that a willow?
Yes.
They love to thrash the willow with their antlers, don't they, when they're in the beginning of the rut? And the sound that would go with that is that wonderful.
Yeah. You do a better impression than I do. That sounds awful.
And it's not just deer that roam these woods after dark. It's also home to one of the densest badger populations in the UK. Here a mother drags her reluctant cub out into the night woods, one of its first ventures above ground.
Oh yeah, looking quite nice. This monstrous sausage. I think you were a bit enthusiastic when you made that
I
one.
think so.
Just check it's cooked through as always. Yeah, it looks good. Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, hot.
They're delicious.
They are good.
Yeah, they're very good. Nice way to cook them. It doesn't need any sauce. It's
No.
just perfect as it is. Lovely. Well, it's been a really lovely time to be in the woods, and particularly to camp out in oak woodland like this. Early May is a really exciting time in the countryside. There's so much going on, from the great tits with their young. In fact, as I speak to you, it's watching me now. And the other things I've seen, the kingfishers sitting on their eggs in their nest hole in the riverbank, and the wonderful hobby that flew down and displayed in front of me when I was canoeing on the Thames. But of course, perhaps the most important thing at this time of year is the Roe Deer, because right now is the time that they give birth. So to be able to go out and watch them discreetly without disturbing them and share in that excitement is very special.
Next time, I'm on a journey through wild moorland.
I like the way they move when they bound up the rocks. I think it was fantastic.
Unique forest habitats
Well, that is a beautiful waterfall.
and stunning glacial valleys as I head for mighty Mount Snowdon, Wales's highest peak.
Lady Mary has something to tell her latest squeeze, Lord Gillingham. Catch last Sunday's Downton Abbey on ITV Player anytime. Friday at 8, we check out Britain from great heights in brand new Secrets from the Sky. Next tonight, though, another update on more family reunions. How have they gone since the cameras stopped rolling? Long lost family. What happened next?